All right, this is going to be a weekly recap from the 5th of December to the 9th of December. Not that many trades, not much data to go over, but I do like the stats. Actually, winning percentage was 50%, which is honestly fine because everything else was important. The average dollar gain was really helped out from these two trades because I had this one that didn't really do much, was much bigger than my average dollar loss. And my average percent gain was a lot better than my average percent loss, which is really good. And I did trade a much larger position on my losing positions, and this was one of them right here. But NWBO is a stock that doesn't really move that much, so it made sense for that one in particular to have a larger size according to my current risk level, which is $100. And I did spend more time in the setups that worked out than the setups that didn't work out. I did have a $16 week. That was trading with $1,900 of trading volume, and yeah, definitely a lot better compared to the other one. And yeah, let's just go over the trades one by one, starting with GTII on the 5th. All right, the 5th is going to be right here, and not a very significant day, except for the fact that maybe it's trying to trade around the same bottom from this previous day before it had like a little baby uptrend. Anyway, the 5th is going to be back here, and I was in at 935 at 91 and a half, and this was a morning panic bounce play. So let's look at 935. I'll zoom in a bit. 935 was right here, and that was this candle right here. I was in at 91 and a half, so I was in roughly here, right there at that candle, for a morning panic bounce play. So I saw the drop from $1.01 as low as 88, and I wanted to trade something where it could bounce and get to VWAP and ideally get above it, which actually ended up being the case right here. I did get out of this one, however, the next minute at 90, and let's just go over that. 936 was right here, and I got out at 90. So right here, yeah, 1 minute before it actually turned around. Let's just look at the notes right here. All right, so it was saying that in regarding to this trade right here, I got in and out of it because I just didn't like the price action, and I kind of got worried that it was going to keep downtrending and break the day low. And essentially, the lesson was with this one, if the price action looks really bad, but it doesn't get to my risk level, it might be a good idea to consider just cutting half the trade, so selling half of the position, even though it hasn't reached my risk level, which in this type of setup is the day low. And then I could, at least if it does, turn around and make a move towards the upside, I do have a position to sell into and be profitable with. But if it is going to fail because I see some really bad price action and it does downtrend, it then looks like it's going to break the day low, then I could cut the other half right then and there. And then I would have half of my position maybe for roughly break even or a slight loss. Or if it breaks the day low and there's slippage, I at least was able to sell a piece, above the risk level and then not lose so much. So I think that's the lesson with that. And I also say that I don't like being in setups for just a few minutes, which is totally true. Yeah, that seems to be the case with that. I think that's going to be the lesson for this week. If it doesn't get to my risk level on a morning panic bounce play, but it looks super ugly, let's not cut everything, but let's do cut a portion. Let's look at NWBO on the 5th. 5th is going to be right here. Looks like the third green day, second run up. Not too bad looking. It looks like it did sell off later off in the day. Right here. And I was in at 957 at 102, and this was a reversal long trend line break under VWAP. So let's look at 957, 102. 957 is right here at 102. So I was in it right here, and I was in for a reversal long trend line break. So a reversal long is just saying that, something is downtrending, downtrending, and then I think it's going to reverse go the other direction. So I'm going long for that reason. And I also set a trend line break. So I'm going to guess that maybe it had a trend line like this. So it wasn't just a setup where it's downtrending and I think it might turn around, but it also breaks this trend line, this downtrending trend line. And on top of that, it is a dip under VWAP after having a super nice morning spike. So it does show that it can move towards the upside. And then, all these reasons that it had a drop right here and then it's roughly holding under the VWAP level. I could be in for a setup. Best case scenario, it gets to VWAP, breaks above it, and then maybe even try to make a move towards the day high or break above it if it's really nice. I did get out at 9:59 at 101.46, so 9:59 was right here, this candle at 101.46. So I got out roughly right here. This one didn't really work out that nicely. I mean, it did downtrend a bit more here, but it never did break the bottom part of this range. So maybe with more confidence, I can hold on to a setup like that. But I must have saw something really bad with the price action. I don't like how this ugly red candle right here had a lot of volume too. So maybe with more experience, I can maybe still have a position left for something. But hindsight is 2020. I think I did fine with it. It did get as high as 105, so there was profitability, but as you can see, this one doesn't really move that much. Yeah, that would have been best case scenario. Yeah, it just seems like maybe I got out just because of the fact I wasn't liking the price action, but this is an example of sticking to a risk level, which would have been in this case maybe the bottom of this range right here breaking. But the scary thing is that if this thing breaks below $1, it might be a super big resistance point and it might not be able to get back above it. So yeah, I just didn't really work out too nicely, but in theory there was a setup right there. Let's look at NWBO again, and this is going to be on the 6th, so it's going to be the next day. Let me remove this trend line right here. Looks like the big nasty sell-off day, unfortunately, and not much of a bounce, I'm going to guess. Actually, no, I think that's the 5th. Did I highlight the wrong day? Yeah, the 6th is going to be back here. Oh, no, I did highlight the right day. Okay. I was in at 9:33 at 97.5, and this was a morning panic bounce play. So let me zoom in a bit more. 9:33, I was in it right here at 975. So I was in it right here. And why? Well, not too nice because it had a gap up, right? It closed right here at roughly $1, and then it opens much higher. But it did sell off, and I guess I traded it because I thought it was a morning panic bounce play. I just don't really like it. Now seeing that it wasn't really something that was properly down on the day, but a gap up that sold off, they don't really work that well. And this one is a clear example of that not working. I got out the next minute, 9:34 at 973, so a very slight loss, but right here is when I got out, 973. And let's look at the notes. All right, so this was another judgment call. I got out because it looked like it was going to break the day low. And again, this could be that thing where maybe I can just cut half of my position and then, well, I don't know. It happened the same minute. So I must have saw something really bad in the price action that, it did break the day low in this candle right here, but maybe I could have held on to half, and then when it actually does break the day low, I could be out the other half. But this might have been really quick, so maybe that would have been the exception to the rule right there. And it does says right here that I try to set up again, so let's take a look at that. I was in it, same setup, same day, around the same time period, but now I was in again at 9:37 a.m. at 97.5, so 937 was right here at 97.5. That doesn't really make sense because it doesn't, show that. Maybe I got it right before. No? I don't know. I can't really explain it other than the fact that I do trade small positions. So maybe I've traded such a small position that I didn't even show up in the chart, I guess. But in theory, I got in it again at 97.5. Or maybe it just had the wrong time. This seems really off, but I'm just gonna go with it right now. And check if I still have a screenshot of it. Yeah, this was my trade right here, just to prove that I'm not some liar because it doesn't show up on this chart. I did trade it. This was the first trade right here. Yeah, this was the first trade. You can see the time. I was, I bought and then I sold, right? So, yeah, this was the next trade at 9:36. Oh, so was it 9:36? Okay, so I just had the wrong time. That seems to be the reason. Let me just make sure it was 15. Yeah, 9:36:15. Okay. All right, yeah, just had the wrong time. Just to go over it, 9:36 was right here. Yeah, so I was in at 97 and a half. So that makes sense. It's actually realistically where it shows on the chart. I'm glad I got to prove that. I did get out at 9:40 at 995, so that was right here. I actually held on to this one for a few minutes, which is good, and my average was 995. And yeah, I did see the uptrend. I don't like how it jumped on air, doesn't have much volume, and not a proper morning pending bounce play in theory. And it was just too much resistance at the nice and round $1 level, which makes sense as to why I didn't really break above it in this case. On top of the other things I mentioned. And yeah, it didn't get to VWAP or anything nice like that. That would have been super profitable. Let's just see what a best case scenario would have been if I sold at maybe 106, which would have been massive and very hard to sell everything at that price. But again, that's best case scenario. Dang, 40 bucks. All right, yeah, didn't work out, but good try. Still made some money off of it. Let's look at AMIH on the 7th. All right, this one looks dead, but I'm sure it looks interesting once we zoom in. Not really. I guess the 7th was right here. Was it really the 7th? Yeah. All right, let's look at the 7th, which is going to be right here. Morning panic bounce play. I'll just highlight it from the middle since it is going to be a setup in the morning. Once we get this one out the way. I was in at 9:36, 141. I got in it right here at 141. So very simple morning panic bounce play, down trending, and then you can draw a trend line off of these two corners. Extend that to the right, breaks the trend line, and it's also playing around that round number of 14. So, or I guess you can call it 1.4. 14 just it's just easier to say. Yeah, it did, do the thing where it breaks under 14 briefly, and there was some volume, so maybe people were like dreading that it was going to break it, and then when it does, they all panic sell, or at least it's the last amount of dumping price action, and then it turns around the next minute. I did get in for a morning panic bounce play, and I got out 9:39 at 14.22, so 9:39 was right here, 14:22, so I got out roughly right here. I guess I gave it some time, but I didn't like perhaps how it wasn't really uptrending all that much, and maybe I just had a fear that it had a bounce right here, and then it was going to be tiny, and then it was just going to sell off, especially perhaps with the volume drying up right here, and then it breaks the day low and continues to panic. But this one did get to VWAP, so this is a morning panic bounce play that got to VWAP that it didn't sell anywhere near that level, and it would have been much more profitable, sure, but it just seems like this one doesn't really have that much volume. But let's see what best case scenario would have been. I sell at 15.6 because I guess that was in theory possible. Right here, yeah, nice percent gain, not very much made, and that was because I had a partial fail. It says right here. I guess oh, I remember this one. I was trying to get 10,000 shares. But then I still would have been undersized. I should have really traded 20,000 shares. And I guess let's see what that would be. 15.6. Okay, so I guess there is some potential. Always something I can, try to do to get better at. And, partial fails, there's nothing much you can do about it other than just keep trying. More reasons to do the idea of holding for a higher low. Yeah, so again, I had a weak bounce and then I sold everything, and I guess this could be a higher low off of the morning panic bounce play because it didn't continue to sell off and break under it. and then it would have been that move towards 15.6, and with another drop right here, although not too ideal because this wick was lower than this level right here. It did eventually make a move above VWAP and get as high as the 17, so not much volume in that one, but in theory, a morning panic bounce play setup was there, and I could have even done better perhaps if I did do a higher low. Let's look at CGRA on the 9th, and that's the last trade. The 9th is going to be right here. Okay, so like a big green day after a big sell-off day with a lot of volume. And the 9th is, yeah, this is the big panic thing that happened in the afternoon of the 8th. Unfortunately, panics in the afternoon don't really tend to bounce all that often, so that was the case with that. And let's highlight this day right here. If I can get rid of extended hours, or at least from the other day. I guess that's fine. All right. I was in at 941 at 564, and this was a bull flag, so 941 was right here, and I got in at 564, and this setup really worked out. I traded it well, and I had the right amount of size. I'm very happy that I did it. Again, a bull flag setup, so it does show that it can spike. It had a nice spike. A lot of reason for it to potentially spike because it just had a big sell-off day, so it could try to bounce. I think the old school name for this pattern is a dead cat bounce. I didn't trade that spike, but I did trade a bull flag. So in theory, this is the pole of the bull flag, and then you can draw a trend line, and it's based off of these two candles, I believe. And you can see how I broke above it, and then it eventually did bounce. And again, I'm in at 941, so I'm probably trading it while it was looking like it was trying to put up higher lows, maybe. We do have a low right here at VWAP, slightly above it. And then this wick right here is a bit higher, and then I'm in it at 941. We did have another wick, but it didn't break below it, or this one, or more importantly, VWAP, which was, I believe, my risk level right here. And as you can see, I did uptrend. I did sell 944. 60.23 was my average, so I sold in this red candle, my last piece, at 60. I believe it was 60.04, or I guess the proper nerve. No, wow, the proper nerve. Did I mention that it's 1:03 a.m.? I'm actually surprised at the amount of concentration I have. Right here, 6:04 is when I sold my last piece, and my average at 9:44. And yeah, it did get higher. It did get to 68, which is nice and everything, but I did sell because of the fact that it was near the day high, which was the 609 level, which was a resistance level, also above the 6 cents level, which is also a resistance level. And I wasn't very comfortable with how wide the candles are in this stock right here. It can be really nice, as you can see here, and then really ugly with this next candle right here, this red one. So overall happy. Maybe with more experience I could have had just perhaps 500 shares left, and then I could have stuck to a risk at VWAP, and then that would have been something where I could sell higher and be more profitable, but also lose, I guess, money if it does fail, and downtrend and get back to VWAP. But that's the risk you take, I guess. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The stats were not that bad. I just wanted to have more trades and have these similar stats. Although I would rather have a larger average dollar gain. I mean not average dollar gain, but I do want to have an average position size that is larger than my average position size on a setup that doesn't work out. But besides that, that's pretty much it for this weekly recap right here. Hopefully I can keep it up, God willing, and yeah, definitely a lot better than the past few weeks, that's for sure. That's it for this recap.